in our TDS community and beyond. It's Christina here on behalf of Theatre Erindale, and today we are sitting down with Paolo Santalucia. Hi, Paolo.
Hello, so nice to be here.
For our friends at home, Paolo is a Dora Award-winning artist and co-founder of the Howlin' Company, and most importantly, a graduate of TDS. So we're proud to have you and glad to have you here. He's worked all over with Soul Pepper and Tarragon, CanStage, Theatre Pathum. This year, he is directing our third years in Romeo and Juliet. So Paolo, what has it been like working with your slice of our TDS third years?
Oh, it's been really great. Everyone is so. I mean, I keep coming back. I keep saying brave, but I really mean that. Like, it's so isolating. This time is such a complicated, weird time to be working on anything, and I admire so much the amount of commitment that everyone has in their ability to show up every day and be ready to engage in Shakespearean tragedy, because it's not easy at the best of times, and it's just such a good play. It's really just a great piece, and the fact that we get to be working on it with the umbrella of the pandemic and what it's doing. I mean, this play's about connection, and so it's just so amazing to watch a play in which you have two people at the center of it who are constantly being reminded of all the reasons they cannot connect with one another. So to be doing that in a time in which we literally cannot connect to one another is kind of amazing. And it's also hilarious because this is, I'm such a nerd, but like there's a scene in this play that often gets cut because people are like, why is it in here? And it's the whole reason that Romeo doesn't get the letter that tells him that Friar Lawrence has concocted this whole plan is because the person that he has sent to deliver the letter gets stuck in a town because of the plague. And so they cannot,
yeah.
the borders close and they can't deliver the letter to Romeo. It just means that scenes like that, you sort of go, yeah, this scene is suddenly super important and super amazing to include in. And that might not be the case in another 10 years, but it is today. And so I just find that so thrilling because it just reminds, I think, hopefully it reminds the audience, but it reminds me constantly of why we go back to these stories consistently time and time again, because they mean different things every time we engage with them.
Do you find any other ways besides the pandemic that you find this play is topical to the time we're in right now? Is there something about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, one of the things that we've been talking a lot about in rehearsal is this notion of, what does it mean to be a young person in the world, understanding that you're inheriting the problems that your parents have created, and have had little to no skills in. Now, this is a huge generalization, but little to no skills in navigating conflict between each other. That there are two completely different ideological points of view that have separated these two families, whatever those things are. They're at, the Capulets and the Montagues are at odds, and their children have inherited this conflict and have inherited prejudices and biases towards one another that they perpetuate for no other reason other than they're inherited. And I think that we're in such it was amazing sort of working on this piece during the election, especially because you just sort of are watching what happens when young people sort of develop agency over taking control of their own anger at the world or their own frustrations around the world. The undercurrent of this play of youth in revolt, of youth at war with their inherited conflict is something that I think is really interesting. And we've made sort of the conscious decision to really not ignore the fact that everyone's quite young in the production, and so the characters we might be used to seeing as portrayed a little bit older as the adults, like that we've really taken a step to sort of go, well, we don't have that represented in the community, so let's really focus on the youth. The nurse is a young woman, even Lady Capulet is a young mother. What does that do to the play? We see people struggling with their ability to articulate things about the world. And it starts right off the bat with Romeo being unable to articulate what love is. He has no language for it. And this play really is, I think, deeply invested in people's ability to articulate aspects of the world around them that are untangible or intangible. I think that is really topical right now because we're facing a generation of people who are trying to find terms for what it means to be coming of age in multiple global crises. We've had this year 3 global crises right at the forefront of all of our minds. We've had this pandemic, we've had climate crisis, and of course we've had the social crises that have been spurred on that that have been coming out, that are coming to the forefront now in really profound ways, in ways that highlight everyone's inability to grapple with the implications of their own place in the world. And that is, I think, right at the heart of this play, even though this play is about, of course, the Romeo and Juliet, but it, you know, the reason there's violence in this play is because you have a group of young people who are incapable of they have no tools, and so that's what they turn to. And I think that the energy of that and the viciousness of that is something that I think is hugely topical right now.
If you could describe this show, your production in particular, in one word, what word would it be?
Relentless, I would say. Yeah. This play takes place over 3 days, which is something that I think we forget a lot of the time. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it operates within a time scale that is very, and actually Midsummer does too, which I think is really interesting that these two plays are paired together, both for the student. And it was a total accident, just a fluke. Kira picked that one and I picked this one. But the fact that the play takes place in such a truncated period of time, and we get to really watch that time unfold over Zoom in this way, it really does have that feeling of things unfolding rapidly. And when you have a cast of 8, and you have to reduce the characters, you reduce the time in between them appearing, it really does unfold in this kind of rapid fire version of the story, which I think really highlights that this play actually takes place just as quickly as it feels like it does, which sometimes is easy to forget when you're watching the full thing of it, because it's a long play. And so when you shorten that and cut out half the characters, you really feel like there's something that the engine of the play becomes super apparent. And I think that that's really exciting. I hope I hope that ultimately the work of the students is highlighted and celebrated, and that it really is about the chance to explore these stories with a group of young actors. You know, the work that will be seen this weekend is all the more amazing given the fact that it is being done by a group of people who have never done it before. And I don't mean haven't acted before. I just mean haven't had to do it under these circumstances. Like, these plays were written 430 years ago, and they're so theatrical. They are built for the theater. They are built for being performed in front of a group of people outside, open air, with sword fights and poison and, like, you know, all sorts of dancing and, like, really theatrical elements. And so when you strip that away, what you're left with is a really unforgiving context in which you have to say to the artist doing them, this is all on you. This is all on your work and your acting. And that's hard for people to do when they've been doing it for their whole careers, never mind people who are engaging with it for the first time in a theater school setting. So I hope that everyone engages with it with generosity and also with excitement, because this is a huge deal for these young actors who are performing it. And I'm so proud of the work that they're doing. And it's a very vibrant, owned version of this play that can only exist in this context because of who is performing it. And that, for me, is the most exciting thing.
Thank you, Paolo, for taking the time to sit down with me and chat. And for our friends at home, you can see Romeo and Juliet broadcasting live February 4th, 5th, and 6th at 7:30 p.m. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Theatre Erindale for tickets, or you can click the links down below and they'll take you right there. But yeah, thanks, Paolo. Have a good one, friends. Bye.
Bye.